All right, here we go. This is another recording session. These auditions aren't going too well, so you know what? I'm giving this a crack myself. And you know what? Here to join me, I'm going to have my daughter, Lillian.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Mike. To Lillian, I'm Dad. But yeah, you know me. I'm the sound guy. I'm the producer. And Dan and Jake are stuck in Arkham Asylum, but these other auditions aren't going as well as I'd hoped. So it's time to break out the big guns. So that's why Lily's here. Mm-hmm. And today, we are going to talk about the pilot episode of Supergirl.
Yay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did you like it, Lil?
It was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. All right. Well, to get us started, I will give a little summary of the episode, and then Lily and I will get into things that we liked about the episode, things we didn't like, things that made us cry, things that made us laugh, things that made us feel feelings. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So, Kara is sent from Krypton, which explodes violently to protect her brother Kal-El. And if you don't know who that is, You done messed up. You're listening to the wrong show. This is Super Sons. Get with the program. Kal-El Superman. You should all know that by now. Dan and Jake have done enough explaining. This is the good cop, bad cop.
Yes.
Supergirl review. Lily will be the good cop. Mm-hmm. And you can talk like good cop if you want, but it might make it difficult for people to understand you. Mm-hmm. If you talk like good cop from like Lego movie, good cop.
Oh,
yeah. How did you really?
I don't know.
You would have known that. I thought you would have been. I thought you would have been better at that.
I thought it was like this different movie that was for grown-ups.
No. Well, yes, but no. I was talking about Good Cop from the Lego movie.
I don't know.
It's okay. So anyway, yeah. So Kara is when Krypton explodes, which, you know what? I'll give a little background here because Lily was actually asking about this earlier because Lily's not the biggest Superman fan yet. She'll understand when she gets older.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, Dan will make you like Superman.
Oh, okay.
So, Krypton is exploding because, this is my understanding as a non-DC Comics nerd, just some guy that likes some DC comic movies and TV shows. So the planet has, some kind of geological environmental issues, explodes, and because they know it's coming, some people know it's coming, they're believing that it's coming. Superman, Kal-El's family, sends him to Earth, where he becomes adopted by the Kent family and becomes Clark Kent. And in this pilot episode of Supergirl, Kara is sent behind him as a 12-year-old, was it? 13?
I think it was
13.
13 or 12.
Yeah, it was 13.
Yeah,
it was 13. So as a 13-year-old, she's sent behind Kal-El, who's a baby, to protect him. But as she leaves the planet, the shockwave from the explosion knocks her ship, because she was a little bit behind Kal-El, knocks her ship into the Phantom Zone, where villains and bad criminals from Krypton have been banished in a giant fort. So she gets trapped there for years and ends up on Earth years later, 24 years later, but she's still the same age. She's 13. But in that time, because of physics and the speed of light, Superman has aged and become Superman as everyone knows him, but she's still a 13-year-old girl. So she's taken in by a family called the Danvers and finds a sister in Alex Danvers and decides, since Superman's pretty much got the whole superhero thing on lockdown, she's just going to try to blend in as a normal person, right?
Yeah.
So cut to Kara as an adult. She's 24 years old. She works for Catco, which is a news outlet similar to the Daily Planet, but in her city. And she has a boss named Cat Grant who sees Catco as she wants it to be bigger than the Daily Planet. She wants to be the biggest news outlet, probably in the whole universe if she could help it. Cat Grant seems incredibly driven. Mm-hmm. And so we see Kara's relationship working with Cat Grant as her boss, who Cat is very bossy and likes to fire people and they don't do things exactly how she likes, right?
Yeah.
She's very intimidating.
Yes.
And so Kara's kind of stuck in that lowly intern position where she's just kind of fetching her coffee and buying her tickets to the musical Wicked and things like that. Yeah. But obviously that's all about to change because Kara is Kara. And so when Kat sends Kara to go on a, what did she send her to get? Like pages for the front page, like drafts for the front page or something like that?
No, the plans.
Yeah, but they were like the front page of the newspaper, layouts. That was it. She sends her to get layouts. And so when Kara goes to get layouts, she meets James Olsen, he corrects her for the first time. James Olsen was the photographer for Superman, and now he's working for Catco under Cat Grant. So Kara talks to Wynn about a blind date she has that night, and later we see Alex helping Kara get ready for that blind date and explaining that she's going to be on a flight to Geneva that night. So Kara ends up on the blind date. What do you think of the guy that she was on the blind date with?
He doesn't pay attention, really. He, they're just, talking about where she was from. Right. And then, he gets a text on his phone.
Yeah.
And he just, walks away. And then
right.
Yeah.
And then she hears with her super hearing that he asks for the check, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is just really, dude, lame. He's a jerk. So... So when he walks away and Kara is just looking at the TV in the bar that they're at, she sees that the plane that is the flight number which Alex is on is having engine trouble. The engine has caught fire. So she immediately takes action. She leaves the bar and immediately starts running down the alley to take off into flight for the first time in years because she hasn't flown in years. And she goes to save Alex and Alex's plane with all the passengers. She saves the plane, gets caught on the news that night, just like a blurry image of her from far away. And so the next day walks into her job, paranoid that everybody's going to know her identity. When Alex sees her later that night, she basically tells her, you shouldn't have done that. Your identity's going to come out. She's very worried about Supergirl's identity, and we're kind of wondering, why is she so worried? We'll get there. And so we end up cutting to the villain of the episode, Vartox, right?
Yes.
Who clearly doesn't like Kara, and we don't really know why yet. Not fully, not until the end of the episode. So while all this is happening, and meanwhile, Kara explains to Wynn that she's Supergirl on the roof. Kat dubs her Supergirl, and we'll get back to that. But she explains to Wynn that she's Supergirl, and Wynn helps her start developing costumes. They start doing little things that people need help with to try to fix and make better. So I think it's when she's on the way to a building that's on fire that she gets tranquilized and taken in by the Department of Extra Normal Operations, or DEO. The director, Hank Henshaw, explains to Kara that she pulled all of the fort with her when she left the Phantom Zone in her ship as a child, which was full of alien criminals that now want her dead. That's where Vartox comes from, obviously, because of her relation to her mother, who was their judge and person that imprisoned them. I don't know if there's a word for that. I'm sure there is, and I'm completely just forgetting it right now. It's fine. We're moving on. Director Henshaw tells Kara she's better off getting some coffee and not helping. He doesn't seem to like her very much or trust her very much. The next day, James helps Kara not get fired when Kara kind of goes off on Kat about why should it be Supergirl, why not Superwoman, which we're going to talk about that more too.
I actually do want it to be Superwoman.
Okay, we're going to get back to that because I'm very interested in your thoughts on this. And James basically saves Kara's behind by showing up with a photo of Supergirl, which Kat desperately wants a clear photo of, and basically passing it off as though Kara took the picture, even though she didn't. But he saves her job. And then as James and Kara are leaving that room, Vartox starts broadcasting a message to Supergirl at a painfully high frequency for her
15
ears.
hertz.
15 hertz is low. I think it was 50,000 hertz. 15 hertz is like bass, is deep bass.
Wait, 15,000, I think it was.
No, 15,000 human beings can hear that. The human hearing range goes from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. It was 50,000 hertz.
Oh, right.
Which really would just sound like a dog whistle to us or something. It would just be really high pitched, but they had to, in the show, make it sound like, Kara could hear it so that we could hear what he was saying. Basically, he challenges Kara to a battle and basically tells her, like, don't be a coward, come fight me or I'm going to hurt a lot of people, which is not nice. Mm-hmm. He's a bad boy and he gets no cookies. Mm-hmm. Right?
Get coal for Christmas.
Yes, exactly. We are coming up on Christmas. He will get coal for Christmas from Santa Claus, from Sandy Claus. So Kara then proceeds to get her butt kicked by Vartox because she's untrained and completely unprepared. She just kind of goes in because a positive characteristic of her is that she wants to do the right thing. But that leads to her just kind of rushing into a battle that she's not really prepared for. So she's rescued when the DEO attacks Vartox with a helicopter and Alex rappels down from that helicopter to save Kara. Because of the battle, however, the DEO is able to identify some data on Vartox's weapon, the axe that he uses, which has some kind of nuclear signature that they get back to later. So in the DEO, Kara and Alex discuss Kara's mother and have a great kind of character moment between the two. The acting is very good. It totally sold it for me. I really felt like they were sisters. Did you? Did you feel like they were sisters? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was good because Kara's wondering why Alex didn't tell her, like, you knew about my mom. Why didn't you tell me about this? That kind of thing. Later that night, Alex comes to Kara's apartment to tell her that, when she was younger, she felt kind of intimidated by Kara and her power and the fact that she kind of took over the important role. Like, the Danvers, her parents, were more concerned with Kara sometimes than Alex, maybe because of Kara's importance as an alien and a Kryptonian. But she tells her that, she was wrong to try to hold her back and that she should be able to go be herself and, save the world and the city if that's what it means. So they end up going back to the DEO to track down Vartox, who the DEO has now been able to track a signature on his axe weapon and track him down because of that. And basically the DEO uses Vartox's perceived image of Supergirl as being quote unquote weak because she's a girl. And they actually trick him into a trap that way so that when she gets into a fight with him, she manages to catch him in a moment where he's kind of trying to bring the axe right down on her, but she hits it with her laser vision, and because it can't heat up too much, when it heats up, it explodes, which kills Vartox in the process. We cut back after all that to Kara back at work the next day. James makes it clear that he knows that she's Supergirl, because he makes a comment about her being hungry and exhausted after fighting a lizard man on the streets of
his head
the desert or whatever.
Weird.
Yeah. He had like horns or something. It was weird.
Yeah.
Not James. James looks completely normal. Yeah, no. We're talking about Vartox. And then so James gives Kara on the roof Superman's Kal-El's blanket from when he was a baby, which happens to be the perfect size for Kara to use as a new cape that won't get destroyed so easily in fights and fires and everything else. And he explains that, Kara asks, like, why didn't he just tell me that this is what he wanted me to do? And James said that Kal-El wanted her to choose it for herself, to be a hero, if that's what she truly wanted. And then finally, to end the episode, it is revealed that Kara's mother, Alora, actually had a twin sister, Astra, who does not like Alora or Kara and is leading Vartox and the other aliens from the fort that are now after them. So that's the basic summary of the episode. We can jump into stuff now. So to start, did you have any fun things that you liked about it, that you didn't like? What do you want to talk about? What do you have written down?
When the episode starts, after like the beginning, when it like tells you why he came to Earth. Yeah. And like that he is Superman's cousin. And all that stuff. It shows her walking into work and her friend comes over and his name is Win.
Win, yeah, we mentioned him.
Mm-hmm. And he tells her about something about aliens.
Oh, when he was saying like he doesn't think aliens actually or he does think that aliens exist.
Yeah,
and she thinks that's like ridiculous.
And she says, "There's no such thing as aliens when he is an alien."
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me about that is that Superman already exists in this universe and people know about Superman. So where did they think Superman came from? Or did they just mean aliens other than Superman?
They probably mean aliens other than Superman.
Yeah, I guess, because if the idea is that he was the last Kryptonian, because that's the assumed idea by humans, is that he's the last Kryptonian. So I guess they're kind of wondering still, like, are there other aliens out there, not just Kryptonians? But I feel like that would answer that question. But I think Melissa Benoist, who plays Supergirl, plays like the nervous, quirky Kara Danvers perfectly. Like when, like she's so funny when she's like in Catco and she's nervous around Cat Grant and she's nervous around James Olsen and she's just nervous and on edge all the time and like wants to do the right thing, but like she plays it in a way that like it makes you like the character a lot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted that. And what else did you have? What's on your list? I want to know what you're thinking. The audience wants to know.
I don't really
what is Lillian thinking?
I don't really like how her boss acts and talks to Kara.
Yeah.
Because
starting with the fact that she calls her Kara and not Kara, right? She gets her name wrong. What else though?
Because like she just tells her to go get a coffee, a lettuce wrap, and like all that kind of stuff, and like she's not really doing like something for the company.
Right.
She's just doing something.
You want her to be able to do more meaningful work.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. I had a note here. So if you didn't know, the score for the show, the music for the show was done by, I think his name, let me get this right. I think his name is Blake Neely. I think that's his name. Who also did the score for, I believe he did Arrow and The Flash and a bunch of other stuff. And I believe he's scoring Crisis on Infinite Earths as well. But the music that plays when Kara is running through the alley to try to fly for the first time again to go save the plane, that music is perfect right there. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It's like so inspirational and makes you want to, it makes you feel like you can fly. Like it's so exciting.
Talking about that, when Alex is in the plane and she knows that something is like wrong and everyone else is like screaming, yelling, like, really terrified.
Right.
He is sitting there trying to be calm.
Right.
And she's not screaming.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, because she's amazed that she's seeing Kara do those things, right? But then also, I guess part of her knows that Kara is strong enough to save her. So she's not as worried as everybody else. I think it was very lucky that Kara didn't saw the bridge in half when she turned the plane on its side to swing through the like one spot in the bridge that was conveniently free of cables. That was terrifying. I would have been, can you imagine being in the car on that bridge?
Gosh.
Like when they're going by?
Oh my gosh.
And then the next day after she gets caught on the nightly news and all that, and there's that blurry picture of her face coming off the elevator at work is completely hilarious. Did you notice that?
Yeah, she looks like super nervous. Like, what if everyone knows who I am now?
Yeah, I love that part. Okay, so here's something I wanted to get to. What were your thoughts on the first costume that Win makes for Supergirl?
Because a lot of her skin is showing.
Yeah.
Like, she's probably going to be super cold flying. Okay? Because, like, she's flying so fast.
That's not where I expected you to go with that at all.
I know, but, like, still.
It's a good point, though. Like, on a cold night in the middle of the city, flying around in, like, what's effectively like a bathing suit, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be cold up there. It's going to be freezing.
Yeah, and like she's flying super fast, so...
Yeah, and my thought was, I know that she is, bulletproof, but some of her enemies, like Vartox, when he hits her with the axe later in the one fight, it clearly gets right through her costume and it actually makes her like bleed, like it's able to pierce her skin.
Yeah.
So if she's wearing a costume with no kind of protection, like on most of her body, like that's not good either, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that they made a point that she was like, I'm not wearing this. This is a bad idea. Like, I'm going to be freezing up there flying around. She didn't say that, but it would have been funny. So what about the second one? The second costume, which then basically becomes the final costume when she puts the S on it and adds the boots and the tights. Do you like that one more?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
I like it a lot more.
Yeah.
I just don't know why. I just like it more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a classic Supergirl look.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the comics have a similar setup with the costume. Do you think there's still ways that the second costume could be improved, though?
Maybe, like, not the S, so it's like, because Superman already has the S on his costume.
Right.
So, like, something a little different, like...
Oh, okay, so you
like
want...
different, like, still that S, but, like, in a...
different style?
Yeah.
Okay. She did say that that's the coat of arms for the House of L, though, her family.
Yeah.
So that's why she stuck with the same thing. But I get what you're saying. Maybe she could do a slightly different style. That's a good idea. I was thinking more along the lines of, like... I don't know if the material, and I don't know if maybe after the pilot they cover this in other episodes, but maybe the material could be improved upon because like Vartox's weapon still got through it. And obviously the cape at the end is an improvement because it's Kryptonian. But yeah, they could probably still do more to give her a little more protection from stuff like axes.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of bulletproof, when she goes to start fighting crime and I think there's like a bank heist that she stops.
Yes.
And Wynn says to her, he's like, "You sure you're bulletproof?" And she's like, "Hope so." And she gives like this funny smile. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, sure. We'll just go get shot and see how that goes."
Yeah. Hope I don't die.
Oh, and so let's get to this because this was another note of mine and you mentioned it earlier. So what were your thoughts on the whole Supergirl as opposed to Superwoman thing? Like the conversation she has with Kat about like, why does that have to be girl?
So she's not a girl anymore. She's a woman now.
Right.
So shouldn't she be Superwoman?
Yeah. It's a good thought. What did you think about Kat's comments though about how like she said, like, I'm a girl, like, adult women can refer to themselves as girls, I guess is what Kat was trying to say. So she was saying, I'm a girl and I'm powerful and successful and she owns her own company and all that. Like,
she said it in a way, like, because, like, she's it kind of sounds a little rude because she also mentions that she's rich.
Yeah.
And it like could be offensive to Kara.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about it like that. So you're saying that like it could come off as like a like she's saying she's better than Kara?
Yeah.
Huh. And like but in that moment, do you think she really meant that? Like, because she seemed to be trying to tell Kara that like she seemed like she was trying to relate to Kara, saying like, I'm a girl, you're a girl. Like, I can be powerful and strong, so can you. Like, I think that's kind of what she was trying to say. Could you see that as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So, debate to be continued. Maybe not by us, but by others. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about that line in the show already. I think they did that on purpose because that's been a long, ongoing thing with Supergirl, just the name of that. You have Superman. Why is it Supergirl? Why isn't it Superwoman?
Maybe because they think that Superman is like somehow more powerful than Supergirl.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why.
Yeah. But, and I think that the way Kat was talking about it, and some people try to think of it, is that just you don't, just because the word girl has a certain connotation to it. Do you know what that means? Like when a word has a connotation, it's like almost like a hidden meaning, like where you might say one thing, but it seems like it means another. So girl, like people think girl, they might think like a bad connotation. They may think like, oh, girl, that means weak. That means, you throw like a girl, like stuff like that, which isn't true, right? Because there are girls that play softball that throw the ball really hard, and I wouldn't want to get hit by that.
Yeah. I've been hit multiple times.
What? By what? Softballs?
Dodgeball.
Oh, dodgeball. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I would hope you hadn't gotten hit multiple times by softballs, because they call them softballs, but they're really not that soft.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
So we were talking about the connotation of the word girl.
Oh, right.
And I think what Kat was trying to say is just because the word girl has a bad connotation doesn't mean that that's how they have to view it, and they can change that connotation, and they have the power to make that a better word, and they can relate things like strength and power and success to being a girl, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Which I can see a lot of value in. So that's not my place to make a call on that, but I think it's still cool that she said it. So I'm interested to see where that conversation goes.
Yes.
What else do I have here? So this is a jump forward, but when Kara gets into that fight with Vartox, when she gets thrown out of the one building into those giant metal pipes, I think they're like sewer drain pipes.
Yeah.
That looked extremely painful.
Yes.
Did you notice that too? Yeah. See, that right there is sound design that is really good, because what sells that being painful is the fact that when she hits them, you hear that loud metal doink sound. That clang that's like, ow, like it's almost like you can hear her bones hitting the metal, and it just sounds like it's very painful. I want to come to a different scene when they're looking at the hologram of Alora, Kara's mother.
Yes.
That's another scene where Blake Neely's music was so good. And every time I watch this episode, because I've watched it multiple times, Lily has watched it for her third time now, because we watched it the second time tonight, but you've seen it before. But every time I watch that scene, it gets me teary-eyed. It makes it hard to keep it together because the music is so sad. So sad. And then when they go to the DEO the next day, or whatever it is, later that night or the next day, whenever they're going to the DEO to then track down Vartox, how is it that Supergirl's hair is always perfect?
I don't know.
Like, you notice that? Like, she can get, out of a fight, and then, like, except for when she rescues the plane, because she's coming out of the water.
Yeah.
But aside from that, once she has the costume on, it's like any moment that she gets out of anything could be, like, the worst fight. Her hair seems to be perfect. And I'm like, that's not how hair works.
Yeah.
Also, when she's...
alien, she could be like, flick, flick, done.
She's got perfect alien hair.
Yeah,
that's probably the excuse somewhere in the comics, is that she's got perfect Kryptonian hair that just falls into perfect wavy curls whenever she wants.
Or like she is.
Just Lily's doing a hair flip for the listeners that can't see, because we're not on video.
Yeah.
I think we joked about this the first time we watched the episode, but when she stops Vartox's truck, literally all that went through my head was just like, hey kids, always remember to wear a seatbelt, like, because he comes flying out of that windshield,
and his axe is like coming
flying
out.
through. That's also dangerous. Why is his axe in the front seat? Like, you got to keep that in the trunk. Like, that's no, axes don't belong in the front seat. No axes in the front seat. Also, cool girls don't look at explosions. When his truck blows up, she's just walking away from it and just doesn't look back. What else do I have? I love at the ending when Kara and James are on the roof. I love that Kal-El wanted her to choose being a hero for herself.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I like that he did that, because if he pushed her, like, maybe she didn't want to do it, like, she, like, didn't like him pushing her and, like, to be a superhero, but she did want to be a superhero.
Right.
She just didn't want to be pushed around to be one.
Right. Well, and I think it's good because it seems like in the show that she went from, age 13 on Earth to 24 without becoming a superhero, and maybe she just wasn't ready yet, right?
Yeah.
So when she finally does become one, it's out of her own choice, and she finds her own path and has her own agency, and that's great. So I thought that was a cool message to send. And when she leaves after that conversation, or they cut away to her narrating and explaining how, she's Supergirl now, and Superman, saves Metropolis every day, but there's plenty of people on Earth that still need saving. I thought it was, again, another moment, Blake Neely killing it with the score. And so I don't know if you know what this is, Lil. You've seen some Steven Spielberg movies like E.T., right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a common thing they call the Spielberg face, where Steven Spielberg as a director will commonly, when things are like flying in the sky or like amazing things are happening up in the sky or just anywhere, the camera will cut to people's faces just like mouth agape, like looking amazed. It sells the feeling to you of like what it would be like to see something so amazing, and so it makes you feel amazed. So I just thought, while Blake Neely's music is playing and she's flying around the city, there's that shot of Wynn like watching her in the sky, and you see it from like the back of his head, but then as she flies by, you see his face start to turn toward the camera, and he's just got this big smile on his face. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I love how the music sounds so hopeful and heartfelt and happy and powerful. And you're seeing this big smile on Wynn's face while he watches his friend fly by to go save the day. And it's like, yeah, this is what superhero shows are about, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this makes me want to watch Supergirl again, because we watched it when you were younger for a while, and then we just kind of stopped in like late in season 1 or season 2 we stopped.
No, it was in season 1.
Yeah. So
we just stopped for
it makes me once we're caught up on Clone Wars and The Mandalorian. Well, we're caught up on The Mandalorian, but we need to continue watching that. But maybe we'll pick this one back up, because it is fun. It's a fun show. It's a good Saturday morning serial show. Like they used to call them like Saturday morning breakfast cartoons when I was a kid. Like,
yeah, I'm not eating cereal.
I know you don't like cereal. Are you from Krypton?
Sorry to the listeners.
Well, you don't have to be sorry if you're from Krypton, because if you're from Krypton, you can now be a superhero and save the entire planet.
I'm not from Krypton. I just don't like cereal.
Yeah. No, you're from New Jersey. Nothing special. Mm-hmm. You're special. New Jersey's not special. Welcome to Super Sons, the podcast where dads rip on their daughters for the entire episode. You're nothing special. So, do you have any final thoughts? Are there any other things about this episode that you liked?
Let me look on my list. I don't think I have one.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved this pilot. And as far as TV pilots go, it's a pretty good one, because a lot of first episodes of TV shows are sometimes not that great.
Yeah.
It's covered a lot of stuff, right? Lily saw when we were getting ready to do the recording, I showed her how long the summary was that I wrote on my laptop, which I tried to cut down in this podcast, because the summary I wrote up was, I don't know, like 2 pages long. Like, there's a lot that happens in this first episode. Like, we get introduced to Kara, her whole Kryptonian family, her whole Earth family, her boss, her coworker, James Olsen. Gosh, the villains, multiple different villains. Yeah. The DEO, Hank Henshaw, right? We get revealed that there's just so much so much that's going on in this episode, but they managed to squeeze it all in pretty well. Yeah. Were you ever lost? Were you ever confused about anything?
In the beginning, I was. When like the planet exploded, I was like, how did it explode?
Yeah, why it go boom?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, that's assuming that you know background on how Superman started, but
earlier.
Yes.
Not in the episode, like as we were doing this. As I did the hair flip, I said, what, pow?
Right. I noticed you did that, and I wasn't sure if you even realized.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody that doesn't remember listening, Wynn tells Kara early in the episode that when she finds love, that it's not something that she's going to find through like a dating app algorithm. It's just going to hit her like wapow. And then when she sees James Olsen for the first time, she says to herself afterwards, she's like, wapow. So yeah, that was funny. But I had fun doing this. Did you enjoy doing this?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see if I'll listen to this back and maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be horrible. And then if it's horrible, we'll find other auditions to possibly take over Super Sons while Dan and Jake are sadly stuck in Arkham Asylum still. I don't know if they're ever going to get out. Okay, bye.